This is your Barbados Today Morning News Update for Wednesday, May 15th, 2019. Thanks for joining us. I'm Carol Williams. After more than 6 months of uncertainty, a big payday is finally coming for the 84 public officers who were retrenched from the Ministry of Transport, Works and Maintenance last October. Last night, the government got a nod from Parliament for the payment of the gratuities and pensions. Here's Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn.
The pension part of any payment, Mr. Speaker, persons will still have to wait until 60 and for when they will receive the reduced pension. But this bill is seeking parliamentary approval to pay the gratuity part of that upfront now, so as to make sure then that we are consistent with good industrial relations. And so it is clear, sir, that whilst it's unfortunate that persons would have had to lose their jobs under the Barbados Economic Recovery and Transformation Program, that the government cares about the well-being of these persons, and we feel quite strongly that these gratuities should be paid now, and that the reduced pension will commence so long as these persons reach the age of 60.
It's moving ahead with a compulsory acquisition, so says Attorney General Dale Marshall in the wake of news of disagreement over the value of land on Lower Bay Street to make way for the Hyatt-centric hotel. The property is occupied by businesswoman Asha Merchandani, popularly known as Miss Ram.
You don't, sir, pick up and say, take that and expect that the individual whose land is being taken must take it. Nor is the individual whose land is being taken able to say, pay me what I want or leave my land alone. It doesn't work so, sir. And therefore, the Land Acquisition Act sets out a process which involves both parties appearing before a judge in chambers, sir. So it's a high court matter. And both parties will present all of their arguments to the judge, including such valuations as they may have. And upon hearing all of the evidence, Mr. Speaker, the judge will then make a decision.
Opposition leader Joseph Atherley charged that the beachfront property was of high value.
I have not heard what, in government's view, or what after government's findings, is a fair market value attaching to the property. We were not told that today. What I do hear, and you know, Mr. Speaker, I hear these things at the top of Broad Street and the middle of Swan Street, despite what others might think. What I do hear is that government has attached a value based on land tax assessment to the property, despite the fact that the current owners obtained a valuation from a prominent private valuer that is 3 times, or almost 4 times, 3 times the value of that which government seeks to pay the current owners.
But Minister of Housing and Lands, George Payne, wasn't having any of it.
For him to come and make those assessments with respect to quantum, you would have thought that he would also have got their views with respect to the valuations which went out. $2-3 million. They objected. I didn't want to mention that in this debate, but I think it is important because of what he has said in this debate. You get a valuation for $3 million and you object and say it's too high. You get a valuation and then a valuation the next year for $3 million. You say it is too high. You get a valuation the next year for $4 million and you say it is too high. And now because government wants to acquire your property, according to the honourable member, they now come with valuations in the $30 million. You know what should happen? You know what should happen? Before if this was a vindictive government, the government would raise the value of that property to $31 million for the last 10 years, insist that they pay land tax on that valuation, and then acquire the property.
Barbados is open for diving. That declaration from Chairman of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's Water Sports Committee, Andrew Miller, speaking at the media launch of the Barbados Dive Fest. He said many people are unaware that Barbados has a diving industry which remains vastly untapped.
We were in California for the first time. Barbados was at the Long Beach Scuba Show. Crossed the hall from Paddy and the state where Paddy is on. And again, there was everybody. Barbados has diving, Barbados has diving. We created a database of hundreds of people who came to that booth because they heard of Dive Festival. Paddy helped push it, Project We're pushing kids. So we now have a database that we will turn over of hundreds of new divers in a market that we never ever touched before. We ain't scraping the surface. Let's think about this. We have approximately 1.1 million tourists. Most of that is long stay visitors, 600,000 or so. The rest are cruise ship passengers, but let's call them tourists for now. You know how many of them dive in Barbados? 1 to 2%. All of us here collectively capture 1 to 2% of the tourists that come here. So of every 100 people that come to Barbados, only 1 or 2 is go diving. There is so much growth for diving that we have not scratched the surface. We need to not worry about each other. There's enough to go around, trust me. Let's get them here, and then we can battle for them, but we don't want them in other countries. We want them in Barbados.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
We turn now to the Cayman Islands, which is dealing with a new influx of sargassum. Cayman 27 News looked at the situation that is affecting eastern districts, where the seaweed has stretched for miles across the coast.
Walking through this thick mud of sargassum is like wading through swampland. The smell of dead fish is all around. I can't explain enough how smelly and itchy this is. But right now it stinks.
It smells nasty and stink.
Very terrible to the community.
We have a stench.
But it's not only the residents who are impacted. The tourists is complaining about it, and then if they ever try to go in the water, I've been there and it itches them. The Department of Environment says climate change may be responsible for this current scene. It says there's no doubt the ocean temperatures are rising, causing the seaweed to bloom in larger amounts. Mr. Levy agrees.
We have global warming that is going into effect. It is my surmise that this is what is causing this particular uncomfortable situation right now.
He says this will need a multi-agency approach.
Let's all work together. This problem will not go away by itself.
And while works have begun to start the cleanup process for the recent wave of sargassum, those who live in Bordentown don't know how long this one will last or how bad the next one will be.
And finally, turning now to the U.S., where a jury in California has ordered Bayer-owned Monsanto to pay more than $2 billion in damages to a couple that sued on grounds the weed killer Roundup caused their cancer. The award was the latest in a series of court defeats for the company over Roundup. For more on that story, we go to France 24.
This California couple has been battling cancer for 9 years. And they were just awarded over $2 billion in damages against Monsanto, the maker of the weed killer Roundup that they believe gave them lymphoma.
We wish that Monsanto had warned us ahead of time about the dangers of using Monsanto.
Monsanto is now owned by Bayer, and they say they plan to appeal. And they maintain that glyphosate, an ingredient in Roundup, is safe for human use. This is the third time since August that a U.S. court has awarded hefty damages against the company. By far the largest penalty, lawyers agree it's likely to be reduced on appeal. But for Alva and Alberta Piliad and their lawyers, the sum of $1 billion per plaintiff sends an important message.
They paid $63 billion to buy Monsanto, and by they I mean Bayer. They have the resources to pay for this case and the tens of thousands of other people out there who have cancer.
Thousands of lawsuits are in the works, with a total of some 13,000 plaintiffs in the U.S. alone.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook. And sign up for breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM. I'm Carol Williams. Do have a good day.